Great. Thank you all for being here. So like I said, I have a brief presentation. We'll walk through that. As we're going through that, feel free to be putting those questions in the chat. Anything that you're curious about, unsure about, if you've started working through your application and some questions came up, now is the time to ask those. Um, our priority deadline is May 31st. That's Sunday, so don't wait. We do have, our staff is going to be online through Friday. So if you run into an issue Saturday or Sunday, we're not going to be available to help. So go ahead and, and work through that the rest of this week. So you see my colleague, Amanda Not Afraid. She's in the chat there. She'll be available to answer any of your questions. She's our scholarships coordinator. But go ahead and, yeah, feel free to ask any questions you have there. And we'll jump into the presentation now. So a little bit about the College Fund. We are the nation's largest nonprofit that supports Native students' access to higher education. Last year, and the year before, we are now awarding over $20 million in scholarships to more than 5,000. I think this past year is actually more than 6,000 students. And so we're continuing to grow our number, our total dollars of scholarships awarded, and that increases, both the amount of the scholarships and the number of scholarships. So we're really excited about that, to be able to invest in your education. A little bit about the eligibility for our scholarships. We have over 300 different scholarship programs, and they all have different criteria, but this is the basic criteria. So there are some scholarships that just ask for this, others add criteria on top of this. So you should be a tribal member or of a state or federally recognized tribe, or a descendant of one of those tribes, meaning your parent or grandparent is enrolled. At least a 2.0 cumulative GPA. You need to be enrolled full-time, and you should be at accredited not-for-profit school in the United States. So if you have any questions about eligibility, feel free to drop those, and we'll walk through that in a little bit. Our application is open now, and the priority deadline, as I mentioned, is May 31st. So if you do plan to enroll in fall 26 or spring 27, now is the time to apply. The application does remain open after May 31st, but your application doesn't go through our scoring process. And so you're much less likely to get selected for a scholarship this coming year. So you'd want to apply now, between now and Sunday. And that application is good for the entire academic year. So for like I mentioned, spring 26 or fall 26 or spring 27, if you're planning to enroll, think you want to enroll, go ahead and apply. Before you apply, we recommend you gather these 3 documents. These are things you're going to need for the application process, and it's just better to have them handy when you go into the application process so you're not, stopping the application, going out, finding those documents, coming back, and sometimes you lose that momentum. It's hard to get it back. So we recommend getting these 3 things before you start applying. That's just a digital photo of yourself. It doesn't need to be a professional photo. It can be a photo that's, you take with your phone, or rather you have somebody else take it of you with your phone. It's better if it's not a selfie. And we recommend not having any filters or emojis or anything else on the photo. It's you looking your best, either in something professional or in your traditional clothing or regalia, whatever it may be. Um, in addition to that, you'd want to have your proof of tribal enrollment or descendancy. So that can be a tribal ID, it can be a CIB, it can be a letter from your tribe saying that you are enrolled or that your parent or grandparent is. And if you are using your parent or grandparent's enrollment, you would just need, their enrollment document plus your birth certificate that shows your relationship to them. And then lastly, your most recent transcript is what we're going to ask for in the application process. So when you're ready to apply, you've gotten those documents and you're ready to go, you can go to collegefund.org/scholarships. That'll bring you to our scholarships page where you can read more about our scholarship programs, and there's a link to the application. Or you can just go directly to collegefund.org/apply. That takes you directly to the portal that you see on the screen there. And you'll go ahead and, if you haven't yet created an account, you can do that, or you'll just log in. If you have created an account with us before, please don't create a new account. If you've forgotten your password, there is an option there to request a reset of your password. When you create a new account, it doesn't link to your old account. So if you've ever been awarded before in a different account, you won't be eligible for renewal into the next year, and it just causes things to be. Um, we just have to try to combine your different accounts, and in doing so, um, some of your records might be deleted as we merge those. So we just always recommend don't create a new account. If you aren't sure what email you used to log in with, you can email us and we'll take a look on the back end and let you know. And then there again, maybe for the third time, apply by May 31st. And don't wait, and maybe don't wait until the 31st. Maybe get it done over the next few days. So if you do run into any issues, you can reach out to us at um, at our email, scholarships@collegefund.org, and we can help you with any issues you might run into. As you're running through your application, these are the three reflection questions that are most impactful on your overall score um, in your application. And these are the three, your chance to um, really let our reviewers know about you. I should stop and tell you a little bit about what the process is once you've applied, because I mentioned our reviewers. These are folks outside of our organization who work in higher ed in various capacities, usually in Native education in some way. And they work with us, for those few months during our application season, scoring all of our applications. Every application gets scored 3 times, and we average those scores. And as we're awarding out scholarships within each program, everybody who meets the criteria in a particular program, we filter them by that criteria, sort them by highest average score, and then just award from the top of those scores. So that's the process. It's as unbiased as we can make it. We have it scored by 3 different people so that you get, kind of average those out. But these three questions are your best opportunity to tell them about you and what you've overcome to attend college, what your goals are moving forward, and then how you want to use your education to impact your community. I see a question here from Michelle, so we'll go ahead and answer that now. What if we aren't able to get the transcripts by May 31st deadline? My daughter just graduated this past Saturday. Yeah. So we say your most recent available transcript. So that means if you don't have, yeah, for this spring term, but you have from fall or from a winter quarter, that's what we're looking for. People have started filling out this application in February. Obviously, they only had, their fall transcript. So whatever you have, that's the most recent. So um, if you're a high school student, that's your high school transcript. If you took a high school equivalency, you can use that. The application will ask for your cumulative GPA on a 4.0 scale. So if your school used something other than a 4.0 scale, there are tools online that you can Google, whatever your system is to a 4.0 GPA scale to get that information. I think that's a good question. Yeah, feel free to also, drop in any questions you have there in the chat, and we'll just put them into the presentation as we're working through it. Um, our unofficial transcripts. Okay, yes. Yeah, that's really all we're looking for. We don't need you to pay for transcripts or request them through any official channel. If you have, a portal that is, online that you can download those from, that works as well. As long as we see, it has your name, the name of your school, the most, the most recent cumulative GPA. We're always looking for cumulative GPA. That way, if you have one bad semester, it's not gonna, put you off track. But yes, unofficial transcripts are what we're looking for there. So here are our key tips. Apply as soon as possible. We're already at the end of the period, so that's more true now than ever. Don't wait until Saturday or Sunday. Do it this week while you have some time. Take your time working through those reflection questions that we just looked at. Um, Ask somebody to review it, the third tip here says, have somebody else review your application, get any feedback. So, take your time with it. I think it's better if you're waiting till the end and you're rushing to get it in before midnight on Sunday. You might not be putting your best foot forward there on those questions. We do recommend avoiding using AI. Excuse me. Our reviewers have let us know one of the things they really value is authenticity, and I think it's hard to have something written by AI sound like your authentic voice. It kind of ends up sounding like an average of, everything that it's scraping to create the answer that it's writing. So we avoid, really relying heavily on AI to generate any of your answers. It ends up hurting more than helping in a lot of cases. On our website, we do have application tips page and a frequently asked questions page that we'll look at here in just a little bit. I think we'll have some time to kind of look at our website and show you where you can find those things. And then lastly, as I've mentioned, reach out to us at the scholarships team. Easiest way is by email, scholarships@collegefund.org. There's 4 of us on the scholarships team. So sometimes if we're all on a call or otherwise engaged, we won't be able to answer the phone, but we'll always get back to you by email. And then just a little bit about how we support students, in addition to the scholarship, anybody who receives a full circle scholarship also has access to a coach who can offer support and advice and different resources, and as well as we have a career development staff as well. So as if you're once you're if you're looking to move from school into a career, we can assist with that as well. Here are some of those resources. If you go to collegefund.org/students, and then on social media, if you follow Native Pathways and YouTube, if you search for American Indian College Fund or at collegefund.org, you'll find us on YouTube, and that has a lot of our previous webinars and a lot of different videos from many of the other different programs beyond scholarships. And then there's some of the other resources, the Connect platform, which is kind of a networking space for internships, jobs, different opportunities there. Focus 2 is more of a career assessment tool to kind of help you narrow down if you're trying to figure out what kind of career might be suitable for you. And then we have a couple guidebooks there. Native Pathways is for folks who might be going to college for the first time, and talks about a lot of the issues that you'll want to consider in that process of figuring out where you're going to be going to college and what you're going to major in, how you're going to pay for it, all of those questions. And then a Career Pathways, again, is more of a guidebook on exploring what kind of career might be right for you. So those are some more resources that we have available. As I mentioned here, you can always email us at scholarships@collegefund.org. Give us a call at that 800 number. We're going to be pretty busy this week, I imagine. Usually this last week of May, right before that deadline, we end up with more than 3,000 applications. So if we don't, if we don't answer your call right away, either leave us a message, email us at scholarships@collegefund.org, and we will get back to you as soon as we can with any answers. So now really open to any of your questions that you might have. Go ahead and drop those in the chat there, and we can talk through those. All right. Got a. When I submitted my application a few minutes later, I received an email stating that my application hasn't been received. I did check the website and it said it was under review. I haven't received an email since then until today for the webinar. Um, Usually we'll only send an email saying that your application has been received. That's the email that we get the email that you should get right away. Um, let's see, Shannon Smith. I'm gonna look you up real quick and let's see. And I can let you know whether we have it. Well, we have two Shannon Smiths, so let's see. But if it says under review, that means that we have received it and that it's being reviewed. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like, well, I guess I don't know which Shannon Smith you are, but one one has completed their application and one hasn't. But if you when you log in it says under review, that means we've received your application. Um, Middle name Michelle. So yeah, so um basically um yes, so Shannon Michelle Smith, we have received your application. Um, so it's under review. So yeah. So once you submit your application, you should get an email that says it's been received. And then your application will go into the pool to be reviewed. It gets scored 3 times, and then basically, we once we've closed the application or once we pass that deadline of May 31st, then we run all the applications through our matching process where all of our scholarship programs for 26-27 are matched against all the applications that we've received, and we create draft awards and then award based on that. Yeah, you got it. You got it, Shannon. I'm glad you can rest assured that you have applied and appreciate it. Will we be notified either way, whether or not we will receive a scholarship? And if we don't receive one this round, are we able to apply again at a later date? Great question. Yes, either way, we will email every single person that's applied at the end of July. July 31st, we're going to send an email to every single person that's applied, letting them know, unfortunately, you were not awarded, or congratulations, you were awarded. And then if you are awarded, we'll reach out and we'll request some additional documents. But if you're not awarded that initial round of awards, we keep your application on file so that when opportunities come available, we do pick from that pool, those folks so your application stays on file. So if you're eligible for any other programs that become available, because you think about it, we award, the 2,000 plus awards initially. People their plans have changed since they applied. They're no longer going to be attending for the fall, or they're no longer eligible for whatever reason for the scholarship they were awarded. Those become available again. And so then we continue working down the list and offer it to the next person and until we've filled out all those positions. So yeah, you might receive a not awarded notification first, and then a couple months later we email you back and say, hey, actually something opened up. So you don't have to apply again. You'll never have to apply again. Like I said, it's once you apply once for the year. And so similarly in the spring, everyone who's awarded in the fall, not everyone's going to move on to the spring. Some people graduate and decide not to go back to school for the spring. Those scholarships become open again, and so we award in the spring still based on those same applications that we receive now. So you don't need to apply at a later date. Once you've applied, you're good for the year. You just need to apply again next year from February 1st to May 31st. That's always going to be our application window. Any other questions that come up? In the meantime, you see our website here. If you go to collegefund.org, and then the navigation here for students, and then scholarships is that first um, item in the drop down there. That'll bring you to our scholarships page. You could also just go to collegefund.org/scholarships, um, and that'll also bring you to our scholarships page here. Right up top, there's a link to the application portal. If you know all the information you need to know, you just need to get to the application portal. Again, you can go to collegefund.org/apply. It's going to bring you to this same portal. If you do want to know more, you can choose from 3 different pages here, depending on where you're coming from. If you're currently a high school student, you want to hover over high school student. Some text will appear here, and then you can click on Learn More. If you're at a tribal college or university, or you're at a non-tribal college or university, um, you'll want to click on whatever is relevant to you. And then, each of these will have, it's mostly the same information, but it is slightly tailored to each of those demographics. And you'll see, a little bit about the opportunities we have available, that basic eligibility we just looked at, the documentation you need to apply. There's a walkthrough video that can be helpful for those who never applied with us before and just kind of want to know about the process before you start it. I think it's about 5 minutes and just show you, um, the process of applying. Another link to the application here. And then at the bottom here, you'll see our application tips page and the frequently asked questions page. And so those are there. All right, I think we got some questions here. So Shannon, who was a scholar this current year, asked, will I have the same coach if I qualify? If you are in the same program, there's a good likelihood that you'll have the same coach. That's not guaranteed. I'm not sure if we're going to have any, change in our coaching staff. That happens. Or if you're no longer eligible for the scholarship you were awarded the year before, we do look for another scholarship for you, and you might end up with a different coach. Different programs have an assigned coach. So if you're in the same program, there's more likelihood that you're going to have the same coach, but sometimes those things change from one year to the next. So no, can't guarantee it, but we do try to keep people in the same program as long as they're still eligible. And that program is still running. Sometimes, donors will take a year off, for various reasons, or maybe they'll not be able to, for whatever reason, to continue a scholarship, or maybe they're moving their money to a different scholarship program. So from year to year, we can't guarantee that you're going to be able to renew in the same program, but we do our best, and we're usually able to find another program for you if you're not able to renew in the same program, as long as you're still eligible for something. All right, so now we got a question from Derek. Let's see. Oh, Derek, I'm college senior and only have 1 semester left to receive my degree. Awesome. Even though I've not borrowed much, can no longer receive financial aid until I pass an appeal process. Awesome. Completed 2 associate's degrees. Go Ravens. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's great. And so is it like a budget adjustment type of process that you're going through to be able to receive additional financial aid? That's what it sounds like. I'm not sure if that's the case. Um, in any case, you'd still want to go ahead and apply now, because if that goes through and you're able to accept financial aid in this your final semester, you'll want to have applied. If you don't apply and then you find out later, oh, actually I can receive additional financial aid, then your application won't be scored. So go ahead and apply. If it happens that um, you're awarded a scholarship and then it turns out that you can no longer accept it because you've already gotten enough financial aid from other sources, whatever the case may be. Um, then but no harm done. We can just award it to another student who does have financial need. So I'm not sure if I am getting that right now. If there was more to that question that I'm not getting, let me know. Yeah, but either way, yeah, just go ahead and apply now. And better to have applied and not need it than need it and find out too late that that actually I can't accept it. Okay, a question regarding descendants. Is blood quantum taken into consideration? No, we don't look at blood quantum. We really rely on tribes and what they've set up as their process for enrolling people. Some tribes use blood quantum, some don't. Some are just, if you can prove lineal descent from somebody in the tribe, other tribes will use blood quantum. So we don't look at any of that. We just go by, are you, a tribal member, or is your parent or grandparent a tribal member? That's all we're looking for. So um, that's just an issue of sovereignty of each tribe to decide their own membership, their own citizenship. So no, we don't look at blood quantum at all. All right, Derek, glad to hear you're going to be applying. Any other questions? Let's look at some of our frequently asked questions and see if this brings up any other questions. Where and how do I apply? I think we covered that. We got to go to scholarships, collegefund.org/scholarships or collegefund.org/apply to go directly to our application. The scholarship application is open from February 1st to May 31st. We talked about how everyone's going to be notified whether they are awarded or not. This says by early August, but we do it on July 31st. So you'll send an email, whatever email you list as your primary email on your application, that's where we're going to send an email to, um, letting you know whether you were awarded or not on July 31st. We talked a little bit just now about tribal affiliation. You will need to be a state or federally recognized tribe or Alaska Native Village. And then, oh yeah, it just says right here, eligibility is not based on blood quantum or DNA test. We do just go by enrollment. Oh yeah, so this is one eligibility piece that we didn't discuss is if you're Canadians First Nations eligible to study in the U.S. The Jay Treaty, you're also eligible for our scholarships. So if you are a member of Canadian First Nations, you can go ahead and apply. Tribal colleges and universities. We work with AHEC and the schools that are accredited with the American Indian Higher Education Commission Consortium, AHEC. And so we work with those tribal colleges across the country. All right, so somebody's saying there, I'm going to try and get my tribal ID as soon as I can before the deadline. I'll be applying. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Before you go, you can apply even if you don't have your tribal ID yet. If you have, a parents or grandparents, you can get that. Still go ahead and apply, and then once you get your tribal ID, send a, you can send it along and we'll upload it to your account for you. But thank you. Thanks for joining us, Catherine. Really appreciate it. You have a good evening. All right, great. So we do have an additional scholarship program called the TCU Scholarship Program that is for students going to a tribal college or university. It works a little bit differently where we will send, an allotment of money to the TCU with some guidelines about how to award it, and each financial aid office at the school will award that based on whatever guidelines they set up in their tribal college. So it's just some additional resources for students at tribal colleges and universities um, that kind of forwards our part of our mission as an organization to support tribal education. So there are the Full Circle scholarships, which any Native student in the country can apply for, and then the TCU scholarships, which is a specific program for those enrolled at tribal colleges and universities. You don't apply for any specific college fund scholarship. Like I mentioned, we have over 300 different programs, so we don't ever, advertise those really one by one because it just gets too confusing and too complicated. And you don't really need to be aware of any of that. All you need to do is submit your one application, and you're considered for all the opportunities that we have available. Your application is matched against all the programs we have for the coming year, and then we award based on those matches. I think we talked about the only schools that you cannot be attending to apply are for-profit schools or any unaccredited school. If as long as you're a not-for-profit school, accredited school in the U.S., you'll be eligible. There's a question on the application that asks, when did you start college? Does this inquiry refer to the year in which you commenced your undergraduate degree or another degree you are presently pursuing? It's really when you took your first college or university class. I think what that question is asking about is more for us to understand more about how long it takes folks to, or how many years people are in school. So it could be, whatever you started your first degree. Yeah. So if you're now in you're in a graduate degree, you can put whenever you started your undergraduate degree. So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's not used. Almost every question on our application is used for determining eligibility for a particular scholarship. That's one of the few questions that is more about understanding who our applicants are, that doesn't have a bearing on whether or not you're awarded a scholarship. So yeah, thanks for asking that question. Documents we talked about, digital photo of yourself, tribal affiliation, your tribal ID, your CIB, a letter from your tribe. If you have another webinar in the future, may I tell others about it? Yes, of course, but we don't have any more because our deadline is coming up here. We have had several throughout, between February and now, are on our are on our YouTube channel. So you can go back to see any of those. But it covers most of the same information. It's, our basic eligibility, the way kind of our process works, the relevant deadlines, the announcement of whether or not you got a scholarship on July 31st. But those are available on our YouTube channel. So worth checking out. You can share those out. But yeah, so yeah, next year around, between February and May, we usually have a handful of webinars to try to answer any questions that people might have. We talked a little bit about renewal. We do try to renew students from one year to the next as much as we can. If some things have changed about your eligibility, that might change. And there's Mandy just posted a link to our past webinars. Thank you so much. We never guarantee renewal in the same program from year to year, because we don't know from one year to the next whether that same scholarship is going to be funded, or if the criteria is going to change from one year to the next. So we do our best to renew people in the same program. If can't renew them in the same program, we try to find a different program. And if not, we do keep the application on file and consider it for any other opportunities that become available. We did talk about the importance of those reflection questions. Those three questions are the most important part of your application that you want to spend the most time on. Um, in addition to your extracurriculars, your honors and distinctions, those are more opportunity to let people know about you. Don't skimp on those. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, I have no extracurriculars to report," and unfortunately, that means our reviewers have to give you a zero on that section if you don't put anything. So put something. Everyone's involved in something. You're doing something besides just school. And even if school, if you're involved in any extracurriculars at school, or if you have a job, or if you help out with, or you have kids you take care of, or you help out with your elders or whatever it might be. There's something you're doing. Make sure you capture those things in those sections, in the extracurriculars and honors and distinctions sections, so that you give the opportunity for our reviewers to get to know you and to score those items accordingly. If you don't see, so when you're filling out the application, it'll ask you, what tribe you're affiliated with. And if it doesn't come up right away, first thing I would say is, um, sometimes the search function can be a bit slow. It just takes a moment for it to load. For whatever reason. It's a frustration, but sometimes it just takes a little bit. So if you're typing in the name of your tribe and it's not coming up, give it a moment. You're gonna see a little loading, icon. And then if it definitely doesn't find anything, maybe there's another name for your tribe. Sometimes the names of tribes change over years, and so we try to keep the most updated name. But if it's not, if you don't see it right away, sometimes there are, bands of a tribe that are consolidated, in the we use the names that are federally recognized by the federal government, right? So that's the name you'd want to search. If you're still not seeing it, we should have all the federally. Well, I know I'll say we do have all the federally recognized tribes. We don't necessarily have all the state recognized tribes. That is, not as easy a list to come by as the federally recognized tribes. So if you don't see it, you can choose self-describe and then put it in there. If you're of a Canadian First Nation, we mentioned you can be eligible. We don't have most of those in our data table, so you can always self-describe, write in the name of your tribe or First Nation, and then we'll take a look. We'll make sure that it's federally or state recognized tribe, or a First Nations tribe in Canada, and we'll add it to our data table. So it'll be there for future students, but they're not all in there yet. So you can always put other. Likewise, if you don't see your school, again, give it a moment. It might take a little bit to load there, and then choose other if it's definitely not there. For major, I always recommend, if you're not seeing your major, choose something that is closely related or more general. If you say other, your 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 application is less likely um, to match with a scholarship that's, major specific. So better to choose, the major that represents, your intended field of study, rather than select other. We talked about your transcript does not have to be official. It can be an unofficial transcript, not a problem, as long as it has those bits of information, your cumulative GPA, and your name and the name of your school. And then we talked about the cumulative, always use your cumulative GPA. So that's all our frequently asked questions. We also have the page for application tips. So there's things about here, talking more about those 3 reflection questions that we looked at. Goes through just generally what you need to do. You need to complete the scholarship application, extracurricular activities, honors and distinctions, and then optional. The resume is optional. That's more for those career services that I mentioned. It's not part of not considered for your scholarship application. It's not part of your overall score, but that's more used for career services if you want to upload a resume there. I think we talked about most of the rest of this is, just some information about formatting, editing your essays, writing tips, some guidelines about your photo. Headshot is always good. Your face should be clearly visible. Headshots are preferred, but full-length photographs are acceptable. Traditional regalia is encouraged but not required. Have somebody else take the photo to avoid selfies. Don't forget to smile. Just a little bit more information about your extracurricular activities. You can always go in and update your profile. Once you submit your application, you cannot update your application. But the profile, which contains, your contact information, some basic demographic information, you can always go in and update that. If your email changes, if your phone number changes, go in and update that. Um, and that'll be the best way to do that. Once you were accepted, can you update the reflection questions? Once you're awarded a scholarship, um, yeah, you can update your reflection questions, but you don't have to. We actually, if you're a returning scholar, you'll see in your application, it'll have you some help text saying that you don't have to because it's not you're already going to be if you were awarded in 25 26 applying for 26 27 you're already prioritized for renewal, meaning you don't go through the regular scoring process. You're already flagged to be renewed for the next year, so you really don't have to go in and update your reflection questions. In fact, we recommend that you spend that time, otherwise maybe doing other scholarship applications, things you can do with that time, because those out your reflection questions are not going to be scored for the coming year if you were awarded this year. Does that answer your question? If there was more to that question, let me know. But generally, um, yeah, anyone who was awarded this year, 25, 26, you're already prioritized for renewal, and you don't have to worry about updating those essays at all. But yeah, once your application has been submitted, if there is something that you want to update, let us know and we can update it on our end. Um, but the profile, you can go in and update it anytime. And that's, like I said, on July 31st, we're gonna send an email to whatever email address is listed as the primary email. That's where that email is gonna go. So if you no longer have access to an email address, you're gonna want to log in and change it before that July 31st. Um, before July 31st. Might as well, if folks are still here, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in there. But we'll go ahead and look at our actual application so you can kind of get a sense of what it looks like if you haven't already. Um, if you haven't already, yeah, go ahead and create your account. You'll just need to click on the sign up. You'll enter your email, password, confirm your password, and click sign up. If you've forgotten your password, you'll click on forgot your password, enter your email, and then click reset password. Um, if you signed up with an account and you no longer have access to the email that you signed up your account with, this is just going to send a reset link to that email address. So if you don't have access, you won't be able to get it. Reach out to us. We can change the email that's associated with your account. We can't change your password on our end, but we can change the email that's associated with your account. And then you can send, a reset password and then it'll come to the new email address that you give us. But as I've said, please don't create a new account if you've already created one. Log into your account and at the top here, you'll see that's your profile where you can always come in and edit this even after you submit it. That's going to be your email address, your picture upload, your address, some things about gender and whether you have dependents under 18, and then your tribal affiliation, your tribal enrollment documents, race and ethnicity. And then once you complete that, and then you'll see a card down here. If you've applied with us in the past, you'll see any previous year's accounts as well, or applications as well. Um, and and you'll want to see that, find the 26, 27. If you've never applied with us, you're going to see one that says get started. It'll just say, like this, it'll say plus get started on the card. And you'll just click apply now. Come on into the application. And just like we saw on that other page, there's 3 sections that you need to complete, 1 optional. But you want to complete the scholarship application, extracurricular activities, honors and distinctions. So you'll go into the scholarship application, enter academic information. If you're currently a high school senior, we do have some scholarships that are specific for students coming from high school into college for the first time. And so if that's true, if you're a high school senior or you just graduated from high school, right? So say, you just finished high school, you're no longer a senior, but you just finished your senior year. You can say yes, enter the name of your high school. Again, we're not going to have every high school here, but if it is here, you'll find it here. So you'll see that the searching process, it takes some time. So, I know that that school is there, but just you see how long that took, right? So you just give it a little time, it'll load. And then if you don't see your school here, you should be able to select other and then write your school in there. But if you're not a high school senior, oops, maybe go back and clear this out. Um, then you will want to put in your school, your college of attendance. Search it up here, and the type of degree, your major, your enrollment status for 26, 27, whether you're going to be full-time or part-time, your most recent cumulative GPA, what class level you're going to be in for the coming year, the year you expect to graduate, the semester you expect to graduate. This is that question that was asked about earlier. What year did you start college? Yeah, that's whenever you started your first term in a college or university, whether it's community college, whether it's university, whatever the case may be. That's what that question is asking. Um, and then you get down to the reflection questions. We do have a prompt here. Oh, this is what I was saying here. For those that were awarded in fall 25 or spring 26, it'll just say you do not need to edit your reflection questions. You can simply move on to the document upload field. You know, skip over that. If this is not marked yes, it'll say a different message about how you'd want to think about answering or editing, updating these reflection questions. It's your opportunity to improve your score from one year to the next. The word count is a minimum of 150, a maximum of 300. I've noticed that the folks that do really well in this section are closer to that 300 mark. You really want to use as much of that as you can. 300 words isn't a ton, so you want to use as much of it as you can to score, let the reviewers know as much as you can about yourself. And then you can build on those questions as you go through, you don't have to repeat anything from one answer to the next and build on it. So they get to know, as much as you can tell somebody in 900 words. You'll want to do that in those questions. There's they ask for a heartfelt thank you letter. Assuming that you were awarded a scholarship, let a donor know what that would mean to you. Upload your transcript. There's a few questions about the FAFSA. If you've not yet filled out the FAFSA, you can just say no to this question. This is another one of those pieces that don't affect your scholarship award at all. This is more for, again, to know who our applicants are and whether they've completed the FAFSA and then what their student aid index is, if so. A few acknowledgments here at the end. How did you hear about our opportunities? and then you'll save that. Extracurriculars, I mentioned, be generous to yourself with what you include in extracurriculars and honors and distinctions. At least list a few, if not a handful. Usually recommend if you can come up with, 4 or 5, that's usually good. If you have more than that, great. You can list them out. Um, and then once you've done all 3 of those sections, well, let me just look at the extracurricular activities so you see what it looks like. You'll have your things here. You'll add a new item and you'll just choose the activity type, what type of activity it is, what the name of it is, how long did you do it, and then a bit of a description about what it is that you were doing. You have to put at least one thing. So, like I mentioned, there is an opportunity to choose no activity to report. I would recommend putting something, anything that you can think of that you've been up to, even if it doesn't seem like that important. Something is better than nothing, and you want to give the reviewers the ability to score you on your activities rather than not giving them anything to score. Because they don't want to score you, they don't necessarily want to give you a bad score, but if you don't give them any option, that might be the case. So once you've completed those 3 sections, honors and distinctions looks exactly like extracurricular activities. It's just asking more about any honors you received. Those can be, honors from your tribe or from your school or from different organizations, whatever the case may be. Once you've completed all those things, submit it. Click that green button to submit. And you should get a message here that says that your application has been submitted, in addition to an email that'll be sent to whatever email you listed on your application. And it says here, we received your scholarship application. You're not able to make edits to your application. However, you can email us at scholarships@collegefund.org if you need to make an update to your school of attendance is listed here because that's the most important thing. Whatever app is on your application, that's where your scholarship is going to get sent. So if you've moved to a different school and somehow didn't tell us, you'll want to make sure that we have the right school on your application before we send funds out. Otherwise, goes out to the wrong school, comes back, you got to wait till it comes back and gets to your right school. We do our best not to let that happen, but sometimes, it can get past us if we're, processing 2,500 scholarships. You are more aware of what school you're attending than we are. So let us know any changes, not just school of attendance, but any changes as things change. Let us know. We can update your application. All right. Well, we're right at the end of our time. Was there any last minute questions in our last minute question webinar that we can answer for you? If not, we have a few days here to get them in before May 31st. And we're available, like I mentioned, scholarships at collegefund.org. That's the best way to reach us. You can also give us a call at 800-987-3863. And we'll do our best to answer any questions so that you can get your application in by May 31st. And then you find out by July 31st whether you have some funds for school in the fall. So really appreciate you taking the time to come here and answer and ask any questions, learn a little bit more about our scholarship opportunities, and we hope to see your application here in the next few days. All right, you have a good evening, everyone. I was waiting to see if there was going to be one last question, but I think we hopefully have answered every question. All right, so we'll go ahead and end it there. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening. Bye.